any of it, okay? And then he's taken this radical anti-porn stance like he's Andrea fucking Dworkin.
So he's opposed to the enslavement and trafficking of young women. What a monster. How outrageous.
Listen, Ray, I just need to know if you think it's weird, okay? Because I talked to Marnie, and she doesn't.
When did you talk to Marnie?
Don't be thirsty, Ray.
Look, Hannah, I want to take your side on this, okay? I really do. But the moral underpinnings of your argument are at best, at very best, extremely unclear.
For the record, I think it's very gross.
Thank you, okay? Because I was worried I was getting, like, old and pedestrian about sex. And you know I pride myself on my sexual openness. Mm-hmm. What I lack in skill, I make up for in extreme curiosity.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Boys Watching Girls. We are just two boys watching HBO's Girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we are talking about Season 5, Episode 3, titled Japan. It is directed by Jesse Peretz, written by Jenny Connor. The original air date was March 6th, 2016, to an audience of 497,000 people. 0.497 million.
That's a drop off again.
Yeah, they went down a little bit from the last episode, but whatever. And as we suspected in the last episode, pretty accurately, this is a Shoshanna heavy episode, but not all Shoshanna.
Yeah, I think I said it would be somewhere around 75% or so, but we got a little less than that. But I did say I knew what this episode would kind of be about. So it's still, the ending is still up in the air, but I thought this was one of those episodes like the Iowa stuff. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the ending because it kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger, leaves you on like a Inception moment where you're like, uh-oh, what is the ending here?
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the Inception one.
No, essays will be written about this, Vance. Okay. There will be conspiracy theories about whether or not Shoshanna has returned or not from Japan.
I know podcasts will be recorded about this. That's what I can say.
Abso-fucking-lutely. The premier podcast where two men watch girls.
Yeah.
Two boys watch HBO's Girls.
Yeah.
So you want to get into this? Should we go by character? Should we? I feel like we could start with Hannah or Jessa.
Yeah, you want to start with Jessa and them, and then go into Hannah, and then end up with the main course in Shoshanna?
Sure, yeah. So Jessa's story is pretty short on here. It's not terribly long, but it did raise some questions for old Joey boy.
Oh, okay.
So we first see Jessa where she's watching a Law and Order type show with Adam and Ray.
It looks like the show Elementary with Lucy Liu and the guy, but it's not the same guy.
Okay, because I forgot about Elementary because I knew it was Lucy Liu, but. Oh, man.
Yeah, and Jeremy from our bonus episode, if you go back and listen, he had worked on Elementary with them, I believe. I think he mentions that.
Well, there you go, everybody. A little tie-in.
And I've worked on a movie with Lucy Liu, too. Yeah. And way back in the day. Yeah. Very nice person.
I was going to say, was she nice?
Super nice. I was reading a book on set that I borrowed. It's Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. And like my first interaction with her, I was just reading it and she comes out and she's like, hey. And I was like, I look up and I'm like, oh, it's Lucy Liu. And then like she gets called back in the set. I go back to read and she comes back out and she starts talking to me again about it.
That's awesome.
I eventually gave her that book. She was very nice to me. It was I had a weird on set experience. Like just that job was like crazy and on set, but she was super nice, and yeah.
Kind of makes you think that Bill Murray might be an asshole. Did you hear about their beef?
No.
Bill Murray hates Lucy Liu because he on the set of Charlie's Angels, he freaked out on her and yelled at her that she can't act, and she got all pissed off, and that's why Bill Murray was replaced for the sequel to Charlie's Angels with Bernie Mac, I think.
Wait, she got pissed off by being called a bad actress?
Yeah.
That seems,
with
that seems like she's in the right there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would have to find
That's
out
why I
more.
said maybe Bill Murray's an asshole. That's why I said. She was really nice to Vance Tucker, some schmuck, some nobody.
Some nobody, yeah. I was just some dude reading a book.
This was
in grip
This
gear.
was before our launch into superstardom with this podcast.
Yeah. I met her brother at the rap party. He was super cool.
That's awesome. Shout out to the Lius.
To the Lutz, yeah.
So anyway, they're watching Adam play a bum / suspect / person with evidence on this Law and Order type show, elementary type show. And Jessa and Ray are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're on TV. This is so cool. You're so great. And Adam is pretty good in that scene.
He's great. Like at first it starts a little too overactory with the lines. I was like, is he still doing like the stage play? But then it kind of sinks in a little bit, and it's just fun to watch this guy act. I don't know. Yeah.
So Jessa keeps like going on and on about how impressed she is with his performance and how he's going to be famous. And Ray like pops his head into. He's like, no, actually that was really good. Like you really took on that role. And Adam's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we have to set the stage. I guess like Ray and Adam are roommates now.
Yeah, that was the question that I was like, when did they start living together?
And Jessa's there in the middle hanging out. So it's like,
yeah,
because I mean, Hannah wouldn't be over there because of the ex. Marnie, we see where she is. And then, and obviously Shoshanna's
in Japan.
Japan. So yeah.
Yeah. So Ray is like, all right, it's time to go to bed. I'm trying to get exactly 13 hours of sleep a night, which is absurd.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I get that in 2 nights.
I know. So he's like, I'm going to bed. You two keep it down out here. Keep it a nice civil level of volume. And then Adam and Jessa kind of look at him like, oh, what does that mean? What do you mean by that, huh? So he goes to bed. And then Adam and Jessa are kind of doing that, you know, staring at each other like, so what are we going to do now? I'm kind of into you, or you're kind of into me. Like, what should we do? And then Adam starts talking about how he wrote a haiku on the ceiling, and he's like moving closer and closer to Jessa. And then he kisses her, and then she pushes him. She's like, what are you doing? Adam's like, what? She's like, we're just friends. We are not doing this. And then Adam's like, are we just friends? And then she's like, I'm not doing this will they, won't they bullshit. I'm leaving. She leaves. Adam has a silent movie actor freak out on himself.
Yeah, I wrote that like he did like a pantomime. It was like really, it was really awesome. At first it goes on and you're like, this is weird. And you're like pantomimes the door closing and him like trying to talk to himself and then turning around and then like a gun shooting him and then like a machine gun shooting him and he like collapses. It was just like they let him go and it just kind of works.
They're like, Adam, we need to fill 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Can you do something? And he's like, oh, sure, yeah.
Well, and it reminded me of when he first calls Natalia. You remember? And he's like,
oh, yeah.
He like after he gets off the phone, he did that thing that you hate where he's like, what? Why did you say that? I'm a cool, like, you know, he just starts talking to himself. So that there's precedent for that, at least.
Yeah. Do you think that this is more normal Adam? Because I remember the last couple episodes you said he's like really giggly and stuff.
Well, the whole haiku getting close to like steal a kiss thing felt so lame. But it's like, oh, I wrote a haiku in the ceiling. Wait, what? And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and then like both of them are looking for it. Like I feel like it'd be pretty obvious where something would be written.
Yeah.
And if it's not up there, like you're not fooling anybody, dude.
There was 2 things with this scene. Like, does Ray seem to think that they have more of a relationship, or does he think they're just? I guess they've been hanging out because they have AA together, so he's probably not thinking too much into it. You know,
maybe, yeah. I don't know if Ray knows.
Like, I thought they were gonna have a moment where like they do something flirtatious, and Ray like his eye darts back between the 2 of them, but they never did that.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something like that too. And then like Jessa goes to the bathroom and then he's like, Adam, what the fuck? Are you guys doing something? That was
a lesser show would have done that.
Yeah.
Or just a more obvious show, probably. What did you think of Jessa's reaction?
That's on par with her. Like,
Did you expect her to walk away?
Yes.
Did you expect her to play the "we're just friends" after what they did last episode? Did you expect her to play that card?
Yes, absolutely. She's the worst.
The masturbating hasn't crossed the line. They haven't crossed over the friendship. They haven't crossed the friendship line.
You haven't masturbated in front of your friends, Vance? You haven't done that?
No, not my friends. No.
Oh, really? Oh,
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that common with the Walkie crew?
I guess that is a little weird then, huh?
Yeah.
I guess you could say that is something that's weird that's going on between them.
Yeah, something that friends don't casually do together.
Yeah, so out of all of the female friends that I've had friends with benefits, but with that, we're hooking up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we've talked about this last episode. I don't think I've ever masturbated in front of a woman.
Well, the thing is, we have this scene with Elijah, where Elijah and Hannah masturbate in separate rooms, but they don't do it in the same room. That's the thing. They had the curtain.
They're not making eye contact.
They're not making eye contact.
Sitting on the same couch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're as close as you can get because they make out passionately.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever masturbated in front of a woman, but I don't think so. I can't recall.
Okay.
Definitely not any of my female friends, Vance. I can tell you that much.
Well, it's frowned upon in the comedy world. Yeah.
And that's basically Jessa's little arc of a story there. Mm-hmm. Still in the same spot with Adam. Yep. We're still just friends. Adam's like, come on. She's like, no. So there we go. On to Hannah, which I thought was a very interesting story.
Well, it stays on par with the masturbating that we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Hannah and Fran are hanging out, and Fran shows her something on his phone, like some 7-year-old, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I guess like some kind of YouTube star. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But what happens is Hannah swipes on his phone and finds a picture of a naked lady. And she's like, what? And then she swipes again. And I think there's another picture of a naked lady. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, Fran, what the fuck is this? Like, what is all of this nudity of these naked women on your phone? And he's like, oh, you shouldn't really be going through my phone because it's private. And she's like, well, it's not private because I just saw it and it's on your phone. And why is it on your phone? He's like, it's private because it is on my phone. And she asks him for an explanation. And he's like, they're just naked pictures of ex-girlfriends that I have saved. And Hannah's like, what the fuck? Why can't you just jerk off to regular porn?
Well,
like
you just kind of skipped over that. That's why he has it. He has it for yeah.
Well, he has no. Yeah, he says he uses it to masturbate. Yeah, you're right. He says he uses it to masturbate. She's like, why can't you jerk off to porn like a normal guy? And he's like, because porn is fucking evil and their women are trafficked and drugged up and underage. It's like, I don't want to look at that. That doesn't really get me hard. And Hannah's like, well, how come you don't just jerk off to pictures of me? I've sent you naked pictures. And Fran says, yeah, but the naked pictures you send me are like kind of goofy and you're always like making a goofy face in them and it doesn't really get me hard. And so Hannah's pissed. So
I wrote down goofy nudes because I just thought that was funny. Like that she's sending them goofy nudes.
Wasn't that the topic of an episode before? Didn't somebody bring this up about Hannah before? Or am I imagining things? Because when he said that, I got a deja vu. Because I've also had that conversation.
Oh,
with
maybe
a girl.
was it when Adam sent her a dick pic or something?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I mean, I can't recall. But I just wrote down goofy nudes, so I thought it was funny. But you might be right. They might have referenced her saying that she doesn't send nude pics that much. really.
Yeah, or they're goofy looking, because that like really struck a deja vu with me. I don't know if it's in this or if it's in something else, like maybe like New Girl or something, one of those quirky character things. But Vance, do you think that Fran is in the wrong here?
I will say this about Fran. I can agree with him about like his stance on porn, on the porn porn stars and stuff. It's a little over generalization of all of them, you know?
Yeah.
But I can understand that reasoning, you know? But I also don't think he is right with the exes on his phone. Like, or the fact that he would just masturbate to pictures of Hannah if the pictures were different.
Yeah, I don't know, because I could see why Hannah's pissed.
Oh yeah, I absolutely understand that.
I'd mainly just be like, yo, friend, why be better at hiding this?
Yeah, that's number one. It is no way those should just be that easily accessible on his phone.
She swiped like once, and then it was like naked nudity.
Like, is that not like buried in like a hidden password folder?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
be smarter about it. It's also,
it's a weird thing too, though. Like, I feel like that's a strange. For me, like, he's masturbating to pictures of his ex-girlfriends, which he had an emotional attachment with at some point, right? So like
that's Hannah's argument.
Yeah, like, so he's still like now thinking about them while he's doing that. Like, it's not this is just some random person I've never seen and will never meet, you know? Like, it's like,
yeah.
Which is so weird. Even if he was just like, oh, I only masturbate to pictures of Hannah, it's like, that's kind of that even seems weird to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And all of his exes sent him nudes too. Like, all of them were just okay being in his phone like that.
I mean, there is a thing where, you know, there have been girls that I've dated that have sent me nudes, and then when we break up, they're like, delete the nudes.
Yeah.
You know? But it's not all of them.
And like, it's up to them to hope that you do that. Like, that's the weird thing about it. I mean, and celebrities send out nudes that got leaked, you know? So like, nudes get sent out. I get it. I'm not like, but it's just interesting that he's saving them for Spank Bank. Like, I don't know.
Oh, Vance, I've got fucking files of exes nudes and stuff. I'm Fran, but I would understand why Hannah would be mad.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Hannah, I feel like Hannah's in the right, and I feel like Fran's argument of why he does it is also right.
Yeah, well, I also watch porn, though, so.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it would be your exclusive means. I also think he could, if that's his only reasoning, he could probably find some source of women that is more, like, legit.
Yeah, like ethical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly.
I mean, the fact that it's that easily accessible on his phone, you have to be thinking, like, is he just doing that, like, every 5 minutes? Like, what?
Yeah, dude, that's like, that's the big gripe that I have with Fran here.
Yeah.
Like, Fran, you gotta hide. If you're doing that, get it. Why would you have it on your phone?
Like,
and how?
It's like he has a case of emergency. It's like, just like, oh my God, I need all these. And it wasn't just like a few. It was just like everything was there.
Yeah, it seemed like he had dozens of these things just hanging out on his phone. It's like, bro, if you just delete your texts.
Yeah.
Put that shit on your computer. Like, where are you that you need to have your phone to masturbate?
Yeah, if he's losing his phone, you know, if he loses his phone and all those pictures get out, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I remember my one buddy had a joke about how he lost his phone and his wallet, and he was like, I was way more upset about losing my phone because I've never lost my wallet and been like, oh no, I have a picture of my dick in my wallet.
I mean, that was just the old school way before camera phones. You would just keep
Exactly.
photos of nudes in your
You
wallet.
just mail a Polaroid.
That's why I was never a fan of those cell phones that had the like, I can put my credit card and wallet on the back of it. Those like cell phone cases where you have everything in one. I'm like, I don't want to lose everything. Like, should I just strap my keys to that too and lose all of them at the bar? Like,
my social security card is my identity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, if you lose all of that, like you can't even call the credit card company yet to be to like cancel it.
You can't get a lift to go. Like it's nothing.
Yeah. You lost it all.
Yeah.
So this conversation that Vance and I just had is what Hannah is kind of having with multiple characters throughout the show. So first she calls Marnie, who is in, and I need to quote this exactly. She's in Ecuador.
Ecuador.
She is she honeymooning, I guess, in Ecuador.
In Ecuador.
With Desi, who's naked and taking a shower in the back, and then like an outdoor shower. And Hannah calls Marnie to be like, "What's up with Fran? Do you think this is kind of weird? Do you think this is bullshit?" And Marnie's kind of like, "I don't know. I would like to be on your side, but I'm not. I think Fran has a point, and it's not that big of a deal." And Hannah's like, "I can't believe you. Can't believe that you're not on my side." And Marnie's like, "I mean, maybe you should just let it go, because Fran is the nicest person that you've ever dated, and you should maybe be more open-minded about this." And then Hannah says something about like, "Oh, next you're going to tell me that monogamy is a construct." And Marnie goes, "I mean, well, it kind of is."
Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah.
And then Hannah's like, "Who took your soul?" And
Desi.
This is where Marnie is like, "Well, maybe since I've been in Ecuador, I feel a bit more enlightened." And then funny. Desi comes from around the back, and he's visible to Hannah, and he's naked. And Hannah's like, "I just saw your husband's dick." And props to girls, because we all also saw Desi's dick.
Everyone saw it.
Yeah, good. I guess I don't know. There's a sect of women that I know that are a lot of times mad that there's not more male nudity on shows like HBO or in movies and stuff. Yeah. So kudos for girls for showing some dong.
Yeah, and I mean, and the whole scene is all Desi ass for the whole scene too, because he's showering.
Yeah, for sure.
With his back to us, and it's just Desi ass, which yeah. It's a lot of nudity in this episode in general.
Yeah, for sure. This is the nudity episode. Yeah. I think this is probably the most nudity in girls that we've seen so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it just wall to wall, man. You see it in phones, you're seeing them in sauna. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
So, Hannah's like, "I just saw your husband's dick." And Marnie is like, "Oh, I love that you can call him my husband now. This is so exciting."
Well, yeah, she just loved, like, hearing the term husband and found that exciting.
So then Hannah is not pleased with that answer from Marnie. So she goes to the sage wisdom giver of this series. She goes to Ray.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, Ray, don't you think this is weird?" And Ray is like, "Not really."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Come on, is anyone going to be on my side?" And Elijah's there, and he's like, "I think it's weird." And she's like, "Thank you, Elijah."
Yeah. And there's some good lines here.
Yeah, Ray has a line about like, "Oh, he's against trafficking and drugging of underage girls. What a monster."
Yeah.
It's like, I really think that you got bigger problems here if this is like the biggest problem. Like, this is not a big deal.
Yeah.
And and then so Ray kind of suggests to Hannah to take
we're skipping over some of the best lines of this episode.
Well then please, I didn't write down all of these lines.
Hannah goes on about how she is just gotten over her like having a non-traditional body type. Like,
yes,
which I love that she like self-referential, like knowing like she just looked different, like she's just not your traditional like you wouldn't see her like in the traditional magazine or anything, you know. And she's just like,
Yeah.
I've come to grips with that. I've fancied myself a Kate Upton at this time. And then she has to look at all of Fran's exes, who are pretty standard looking, attractive women. Like, there's no one in his plethora of photos that looks anything like Hannah, you know. And even Ray's like, or Elijah's like, oh, you're beautiful. Fran thinks so, or something that.
Yeah. Elijah's like, you're beautiful to Fran.
Yeah, which is crazy because he's also like dated her. And then
that's like a low key self own.
Yeah. We don't actually. I'll go on with this before we talk about something else. And then. But when she gets in at Ray, she says she talked to Marnie and she didn't agree. And then Ray's like, oh, when did you talk to her? When did you talk to Marnie?
Yeah. And Elijah goes, don't be thirsty, Ray.
Don't be thirsty, Ray. That was so perfect. And then, I guess this next line is later in the next scene. But I will say we never learn hear about Elijah and his new boy toy from last episode. We don't have... No follow-up.
We don't have any update on Elijah and Dill Harcourt.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to assume that things are going peachy, I guess. So who knows? So actually, I kind of mentioned this before we got into the funny lines. But did Ray kind of be like, why don't you just take better nudes? Because I don't know how we get into this next scene where Ray and Elijah are helping Hannah take better nudes.
I can't remember exactly the transition.
Yeah, but it was Ray now has like Hannah's iPhone or something, and he's got like a lens on it too and everything, and Elijah's holding up this sheet for some soft lighting coming through the window, and Hannah's just butt-ass naked.
Or maybe to shield it from the view of the window, because they're doing this in the back of the coffee shop, which is completely empty in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's probably a much better reason other than soft lighting.
It's like, hey, how about we take these photos somewhere else at a different time?
Yeah, I mean, just the hygienic, like, Ray's is definitely getting a B grading from... If they knew that like Hannah's nude ass and vagina are just on some back bench in his coffee shop. So Ray's taking pictures of her and he's like, why don't you try doing this? Elijah's basically directing the photo shoot from his position where he's holding the thing. And I don't remember the other line, but I do remember this line because I wrote it down. Is Ray is like, why don't you give like a like sexy smirk, like you know a juicy secret. And then Hannah makes this horrible smile that's just so stupid looking, and Elijah goes, oh no, not the Katie Holmes. Here, let me try and put this in words that you'll understand. Ooh, smile like you know a cake is coming later.
Yeah, that's what Elijah says.
Yeah, and then Hannah has the most effervescent smile I've seen her have in this entire show.
Yeah, that was a perfect line. The line delivery by Elijah and like her reaction to it. Like he's like, ooh, cake is coming. And she's like, what? Yeah. Cake? And it's like the perfect photo. And yeah, she's fully nude. And I think it's interesting that Ray was so willing to take these photos.
I think it's interesting that, yes, that's very interesting. I think it'd be interesting to see the argument with Fran after he's like, who took these photos? And she goes, Ray did. It's like, is that better or worse than having photos of your ex on your phone?
Well, I mean, they're living
because Fran has already expressed uncomfortableness with them making out.
Yeah.
Elijah and Hannah. And now Elijah's helping her take nudes with Ray, who is like a friend. I think that's also a little gray area.
Yeah, but I don't think that matters. I don't think he's worried about Ray. like he knows Ray's in love with Marnie.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that's just like weird as fuck. Like if it was a girlfriend's helping them take pictures, then I'd be like, all right, whatever.
Well, all of her girlfriends
because
are
it's
out of town and are...
one's in Japan, one's in Ecuador.
One's in Ecuador. And another one is in love with her old boyfriend or something, or trying not to be, so...
All right. Dude, Ray's got to be the problem solver of everything in the show.
He's like, all right, we'll get these photos and it'll work.
Yeah. They did look pretty nice. I mean, that's a cool little place to be doing those pictures. And she's like, you know, it looks good.
Yeah.
Good backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
So, the next time we see them, Hannah and Fran are having sex. And Fran, it seems like, is fully clothed. And Hannah is fully naked. And she's on top of him, riding his cock.
It's almost like the wedding car scene.
Yeah. So she's riding him, and she doesn't look like she's really into it, not having the best of time. And Fran kind of calls her out on it. It's like, hey, is everything all right? It doesn't seem like you're into this. And she's like, no, I'm into it. And then they keep going. He's like, because it doesn't seem like you're really like present right now. It seems like you're not really here. Your mind is elsewhere. She's like, no, I'm fine. And then he goes, hey, stop. Come on, stop. Like, hey, I love you. And then she says, I forget what she says there.
She doesn't say, I love you back.
Yeah, she doesn't say, I love you back. And then Fran's like, what's going on? And Hannah's like, why don't you get any of the ex-girlfriends in your phone to say that I love you back? And then that'll be a real boner killer.
Yeah. This is a tricky one. What was I going to say? It's really one of those things where I thought the argument would be her and Elijah. Like Fran would be upset about Elijah's closeness with Hannah, and then that would cause Elijah to end up going with that news reporter guy and having to move out. And I thought it might be like some conflict of like you don't deal, like I thought they were building towards the Elijah, Fran, Hannah semi-love triangle, you know, like where he's not, like he's a little jealous, but there's actually nothing actually going on. But he also has the right to be kind of like, don't make out in front of me. But this is a question for you, because when we knew Fran was like a good guy, and you were like, every good guy in the show turns bad, which we'll see in Shoshanna's situation a little bit. Did you feel like Fran was going to go bad, or that Hannah was going to blow it? Because that's what happens last episode. The dad is like, hey, don't lose him. And she gets all pissed off about that. Like, why would I lose him?
That's a really fucking good question. Was Hannah going to blow it, or was Fran going to become a bad guy? Has Hannah ever been with a guy that we thought was good before?
Who is she?
Maybe the Black Republican?
Yeah, she blew that one.
She definitely blew that one. Who has she blown it with?
Who have we seen her dating? She's dated Adam multiple times. And
Donald Glover.
Fran, she blew the first time. She blew that the first time.
Yeah, she definitely blew that. One Man's Trash, she blew it with Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, that was never going to go that far, but yeah, they definitely had something. Like,
yeah, she blew it real hard. Would you say that Adam was a bad guy, or did she blow it with Adam?
Adam was a bad. She didn't blow it with Adam. She didn't blow it with Adam the last time they broke up, but when he was acting in his play around that time, it was weird. And then a little bit. Yeah,
she almost blew it.
Yeah, and then before that, it was more him being. I can't remember. No.
I think that the trend is more that Hannah blows it more than guys are bad. We only see guys being bad with, I guess, Jessa and maybe Marnie. So it would make more sense for Hannah to blow it. But I was kind of expecting there to be some kind of secret weird thing with Fran that Hannah makes a big deal out of and blows it.
Yeah, which is this. And it's on par with being kind of weird for Fran, but not being like, okay, this guy has a fatal flaw, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next thing that happens, Hannah is sleeping next to Fran, and Fran, for some reason, leaves his phone in the kitchen. Hannah opens it up. She's looking at all the nudes that are in Fran's phone, and she's casually making snide remarks about them. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm so fucking blah. Well, delete. And then she goes, presumably, and deletes all of the nudes off of Fran's phone. And she also makes the nude of her his screensaver.
Yeah. So a kid's going to see his phone in school. She's going to get fired. He's going to get fired.
They're both going to get fired.
Well, it's interesting because this is the last scene that we see of them. And it really has that setup to be like, ooh, I can't wait for that last scene when he wakes up and sees this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's...
Yeah, we don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be really weird if he did for the first time open his phone in school, because, I don't know, this was in 2016. People were already obsessed with their phones by then and checking it nonstop. It's not like he's going to, the first time that he opens his phone is going to be in school.
Yeah, I just figured, I was like trying to think of what the worst thing could happen.
I mean, I could totally see that happening in this. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of Hannah and Fran's story.
Yeah.
It's a gray area, I would say. Very interesting debate.
I really wish we could have seen more Fran's reaction to her statement of being like, oh, get the other girls to love you or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is on her more so than on him. And I'm curious of what his reaction is.
I would also like to see what his reaction is to her deleting all of his nudes.
Yeah. But I feel like if we go next episode, are they just going to pick up right there? And he's like, hey, why'd you delete my nudes? I feel like it's a one episode.
I don't think that they're going to.
Yeah, I feel like that's a one episode thing versus I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pick it up next episode.
Yeah.
But that's Hannah and Fran for this episode, so we'll be excited to see where that goes. But now for our main event of the podcast, Shoshanna.
Yeah.
So Shoshanna is very much in Japan. She wakes up to an alarm clock that is the most Japanese thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's awesome. It's the best way to open the show. It's the best way to say, hey, you're in Japan. That alarm clock is, I don't know if it's something I would have, but I actually kind of liked it.
I kind of liked it, but I also thought it was kind of horrifying too. It was like very, very creepy.
Yeah.
That's like one of those things that you'd see in a horror movie and then start telling you that it was going to kill you.
Yeah.
But it's basically this little box with a face on it, and it starts talking in Japanese to wake you up. Mm-hmm. And Shoshanna wakes up. She's in her apartment that's all basically like neon colored. Her whole house, she walks outside of it. Like the whole apartment complex is just the most cartoonishly Japanese, colorful place ever.
Yeah, like that is not a place that's like, oh, when I think Japan, I think that. When I think Tokyo, I think that. Because that place is not the typical.
Yeah,
like,
no,
location.
It's definitely like a cartoon.
Yeah. You know, there's like the place in Williamsburg now called the Pod or whatever, which is basically like a fancy hostel. You know, like these small like apartment rooms and stuff. And it kind of has that kind of coloring, that like neon, like trendy like look.
Yeah, it's like neon blue, neon green, neon orange. Just
I thought her shower was really interesting, like kind of in the middle of the room, that circular like shower that she had set up.
Tube.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Japan's just different, man.
Yeah, I've never been.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen on episodes of Family Guy and The Simpsons...
I like that you just based it off of animated shows. Not even like live action.
Yeah, no.
Not Lost in Translation.
No.
Not
never
cooking
saw
shows.
That movie.
No, just Simpsons and Family Guy.
Look, the only thing that I know of Japan is from The Simpsons and anime. I've never seen Japan in real life, basically.
I was going to ask you, how did they fake New York to look like Japan for this?
That's what I was trying to think, but they definitely didn't.
Definitely
there's,
did,
there's definitely that crosswalk that we see Shoshanna walking through. That is a famous Japanese crosswalk, and there's no way they could have faked that.
They just filmed it in Times Square and then replaced everything.
See, I think that they didn't fake probably the first couple of scenes, but the rest of it was 100% faked.
What, the end stuff? I mean, the interiors could be wherever. But
exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, the interiors are definitely probably back in New York, but they'd probably had to hire like loads and loads and loads and loads of Japanese actors.
No, I feel like they filmed a bunch of stuff over there. I mean, you can find a ton of Japanese actors in New York too, so it's not like
So Shoshanna's walking around. She walks to her job, which seems to be going well. She seems to be liked by everyone, and she also seems to be smitten by a man named Yoshi, who she delivers like a spreadsheet to, and he's like, "Oh, is this?" And there's also a little bit of lost in translation gag stuff where he's saying English words but they're not grammatically correct. And
well, he's like, "Did you have pleasure this weekend?" Which is him asking like, "Did you have fun this weekend?" Basically. It's interesting because she's speaking a little bit of Japanese. I guess she's been over there almost 8 months or so.
Yeah,
or say 6 months at least.
She's had to have picked up a little bit.
Yeah, and like she's definitely not fluent. She definitely can't understand like when people just go full speed.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So she has like the hard eyes for Yoshi. It seems they're like very kind of flirtatiously doing the Adam Jessa giggly thing.
Yeah,
it seems
so much rom-com-y stuff this season so far.
I know. So then we see her in like a bathhouse sauna type deal with a bunch of her coworkers.
Oh, I wanted to say the girl's title, they actually did it in Japanese and it's super cool idea just to do that. Yeah. Thought it was great.
I did enjoy that.
Yep.
I'm annoyed at myself for skipping over that, but good catch.
I had it written down and I just wanted to point it out. I mean, if you watched the episode, you saw it, but yeah.
So she's at the bathhouse / sauna with her coworkers, and they're kind of having girl talk about like, "Oh, dude, Yoshi's totally into you." And Shoshanna's like, "What? I mean, is he? But I don't know. Should I do something? I also kind of have a boyfriend." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we already thought that like you guys were like hooking up. We thought that like he's always talking about you, and he says that you're a shining star at this company." And then Shoshanna goes on a Shoshanna rant.
Yeah.
Where she's like, "Did he really? I mean, maybe that has to do with me actually being a shining star in this company because I have only been here for a couple months now and it's been a short time, but I already feel like this is home. I really feel like you guys are family to me." And maybe that's what he's referring to. And then one of her coworkers goes, "You talk too fast."
Yeah. And Shoshanna tries to say, "No one has ever told me that." And I'm like, bullshit. Like, Jasper thought you were on coke that one time you were talking so fast. And she was like, "No, this is a thing. I talk manic." Like,
yeah. So she's like, "What? You're full of shit. No one's ever told me that." And I'm sure that you can translate for her. And then so her one coworker, I forget her name, but she looks at the other coworker and she's like, she's basically talking about how much she wants to fuck Yoshi. And the other coworker's like, "Yeah, I mean, we already all thought that they were hooking up, you know." And then Shoshanna's just like ignorantly laughing, like, "Ha ha ha ha."
Yeah.
So then we cut to Yoshi, and Yoshi's with his dude bros, and he's like,
"Are they in just the male side of the sauna, or is this in the
thinking.
Like, what is this place? Like, everyone's just nude walking around and like."
Is this like the Googleplex where they have like all this insane shit in their office?
Like, what is this company?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's Abigail.
Oh, sorry. I forgot. It's Abigail.
Vance, it's Abigail.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, he's on like, let's just say the male side of the sauna with his dude bros. And he's like, I don't know if she likes me. I feel like she does, but it's weird because she keeps mentioning that she has a boyfriend. But I don't know if this guy exists. I've never seen a picture of him. And then his dude bros are like, dude, if she wants it, she would have gotten it by now. Because all of America, all the women in America are sluts. And they're like, hey, hello, you want to fuck? Let's fuck. Hi, you want to fuck? Let's fuck. It's a country of sluts.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, damn, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of, I could see that being exactly how they view it.
I was going to say, do you think that the Japanese people think that way about us?
Or like the Americans that go over to Korea to teach English and they're just trying to bang away. Like, it's just a whole different ideal in different countries. It's like how people view like French people and Italian people to be more like sexually, it's just that thing that comes,
Yeah. So, that's basically the gist of that.
Yoshi's a very timid creature.
Yeah, I mean, based on all of the anime that I've watched, and I get a little plug in here. I've got another podcast called the Anime Movie Podcast, where me and my friend Kat, we review anime movies. So if you're into anime too and you're listening to this, go on over and check out the Anime Movie Podcast. But yeah, based on all the anime that I've seen, most of the dudes are very timid in anime. Very timid and
did it throw you off? Did it throw you off to see Japanese people not drawn? Were you like, wait, they're 3-dimensional?
Wait, these people actually exist? But yeah, based on the anime that I've seen, like anytime there's a girl that's kind of got the hots for a guy and she'll like brush up against his hand, they're like, oh, and they blush really hard. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm not saying that's Japanese culture.
I love the equating it to anime.
Look, I'm just saying that he's acting like an anime character. He's acting like a very timid, like, oh, I don't know. What should I do? I'm very indecisive. And it's very obvious that Shoshanna is into him. I
mean, does Shoshanna in that first scene like giggle and cover her mouth and run away?
Yes.
Yeah. Like it's so like Japanese rom-com
stereotype. Yeah. So after they're done discussing what whores Americans are, they decide, hey, let's go take our mind off this. Let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah. I mean, you go to the sauna and then you get cotton candy and ice cream.
I love it. So then they go and get ice cream. Yoshi sitting on the floor with his ice cream is looking very contemplative. And Shoshanna and all her coworkers are at the same place getting cotton candy. And Shoshanna like keeps looking over at Yoshi and giving him the eyes. And then Yoshi notices and she keeps giving him the eyes. Like so much so that it is awkward as hell.
Well, her friends have already continued walking off frame. And it's like she's the third one behind them. And I'm like, hey, keep going. Or go over there and talk to them. You guys are all coworkers at the same company. Like, I don't know where they're going. Or I don't know where they are either. But yeah.
I don't know if the ice cream place was connected to the sauna place. I don't know if that's part of their whole office building.
Because they're all in robes, though. They're all in like those different, like, kind of uniform like robes. So I think it's still part of the company, maybe. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah. But we did see a lot of boobs in that last scene. Not a lot of dicks.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the women are like, hey, why are we seeing a bunch of women just fully nude? And then
but this was before we saw Desi dick.
Yeah. But
so.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna have a whole
so you
sauna,
got your dick, I'm
ladies. Just gonna say, they get like a little. It's like, oh, here's a little dick to tide you over.
Yeah, like, it's like a 1:64 ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Like we got like just girls running around the sauna for no reason, and somehow in the male sauna, there's no naked guys walking around. And any guy who's been to a gym knows that like naked guys walking around would be.
Look. Yeah, I distinctly remember watching this episode and looking in the background to see if there was going to be dicks because there were so many just fully nude women There was one guy who was walking in the background, and right before you were going to be able to see his dick, he put a towel over his dick.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just has, it wasn't even a towel. It was like a dish rag. So he's just like covering up only his dick. And I was like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like I always knew that, but I figured like there would be some dicks in that scene.
If you, why even have that scene in the sauna too?
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to have the sauna, like you could have people in the sauna and just be like neck up with just the girls and you wouldn't have to see the naked women behind them. But they chose to have it because it's HBO, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, hey, if you're going to do that and we're going to show Desi dick later, like, why are you not just going to show
a bunch of Japanese cock?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Right.
We saw Japanese boobs, Japanese bush.
Yeah.
Very odd. Yeah, so next up, we get Shoshanna at her apartment, and she gets a phone call from A.D. Bryant. I forget what her character's name is, but it's A.D. Bryant.
Yep.
And she's like, hey, Shoshanna, how's it going? And Shoshanna's like, this is awesome. I love being here. I feel really at home here. I think I'm thriving in this role, and everything is perfect. And then A.D. Bryant's like, oh, that's what makes this so hard to say. We're basically downsizing. And Shoshanna's like, are you firing me? And A.D. Bryant's like, no, we're not firing you. We're just having a little split between our relationship. And part of that split is you no longer have your position or salary, and you need to come back to America because we're not. And Shoshanna's like, I moved to fucking Japan.
Yeah.
I feel good here. She gave a whole speech about how people say that you can't run away from your problems. And Shoshanna's like, you absolutely can. I moved away from my problems. That is awesome.
Yeah. Did you know that this was going to be the call to have her fired?
As soon as I saw A.D. Bryant on that screen, I was like, she's getting fired.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's interesting because the call gets ended, and like Shoshanna's like, being fired would be the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. She says that right before. She's like, well, you kind of are fired. And she was changing the wording or whatever. Because A.D. Bryant's character is not a confrontation person. But I kind of wanted to know exactly why Shoshanna was being fired specifically. Because they're like, oh, the company in Japan's not doing as well.
Yeah.
And I just don't. And again, we really don't need to know what Shoshanna. It just feels like knowing a little bit about what Shoshanna's actually doing and like, is the company. Because no one else seems freaked out about losing their job. It's not like a whole downsize. It seems like specifically her.
Yeah, I mean, they do mention that the Japanese company's having some trouble. I guess it was just like position elimination, and because she's the newest on the team, they're going to get rid of her because she doesn't have tenure or whatever.
No. Were you thinking that she should just try and look for another job in Japan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She could totally get another job in Japan. I mean, maybe. She doesn't speak Japanese. That's a big deterrent.
Well, I mean, she could probably just go work for an American company in Japan.
True.
Or just work for, I mean, she's working for that's what she's working for now, technically, I guess.
Yeah.
But
she got that job while she was in America.
Yeah.
It'd probably be hard for her to get a job from America while she's in Japan.
But it's probably a lot easier for a company hiring to already have a person that has been to Japan and already lives there. So you don't have to worry about flying them over, getting them acquainted. Like, you don't have to deal with all of that beginning stuff, you know?
Yeah, them uprooting their life and moving out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she would have to do it for the visas and all that stuff, but logistically. But I thought, like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first thought. I was like, oh, well, she's going to have to get another job in Japan if she wants to stay there.
Yeah.
But she's super sad, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
She goes out with her coworkers drinking, and she's just very sad. And I don't remember how we got to this part, but I remember them being confused about how successful she actually is and who she knows. Yeah. And because they're like, you can go back and hang out with some celebrity.
They were like, oh, well, now you get to go back and be with your future husband and your friend Ashley Tisdale. And she's like, I'm not friends with Ashley Tisdale. I just saw her somewhere, and you guys got confused, and I just kind of went with it. And they were like, and then she's like, I don't have a job, and they're like, but aren't you like? And she's like, my parents don't have money. Like, I can't just stay here. And they're like, we thought you were rich.
Yeah, they're like, we thought that you were wealthy. And she's like, what? Why do you think that? And they said, you seem very wealthy because of your spoiled attitude.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, that was all Americans. Yeah, but
that was an amazing, like, Shoshanna getting a taste of Shoshanna. Because that was something that Shoshanna would say to the rest of the girls.
And I got to say, I like this group of girls for Shoshanna. Like, I like these two. Yeah. One of them names is Satoko, I guess. And I was just like, man, they're giving her shit. Like, they kind of joke about her. Like, she's not just the one judging them the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's nice. It's nice to see her, the shoe on the other foot for her.
Yeah. And they actually seem like genuinely like, hey, let's go out for beers with you and like, let's talk about problems. And it's not all about us. Like,
yeah,
it was so relaxing for them not to spin it into. And they were like, oh, that other girl isn't getting fired and she's worse than you are, you know? Like, they're all being super supportive. I don't know.
Yeah, so she's real bummed out about it. And her beau in the States, Scott, gives her a call. And he's like, hey, what's up, lady? How's it going? And she's like, super sad. And he can tell. She's like, is everything all right? She's like, I just lost my job. And he's like, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But you know what that means? You can come on back to the States and I can see you and we can be together and it'll be awesome. And she's like, yeah, but I don't know. I kind of wish that I still had the job. I don't have a job anymore. He's like, don't worry about it. Just get on the first flight back. Take a flight, the next flight there. I'll meet you at the airport and we can get back to being together and it'll be awesome. And Shoshanna's looking very much like, I don't want to do that.
I mean, she's starting to tear up. I mean, she's crying about having to go back to New York.
Yeah.
And I've actually had a situation somewhat similar to this. I did like
Vance.
I did like a random edit job that I found, like this freelance edit job, and it was I was going to be at like 3 resorts, and I was going to Cancun. I think it was Cancun, Mexico. I was in, and at 1 resort, and I was supposed to go to 2 other resorts, and it was around the Christmas holiday time. So I was in Mexico that time, and I was there for maybe 5 or so days before I was let go. And it was one of those things where like it hits you that you're getting let go, you know, like after we had this like dinner out, and the guy's like, yeah, it's just not working out. We're gonna send you back. Because the stuff was like changing. They were adding new cameras, and it was a whole weird thing. But I was like, oh, okay, that sucks. Like being let go, like, cause I was like, oh, I'm going to be here for like 3 weeks, not just the 1 week. And then it just slowly seeps in. I'm like, well, I didn't really want to do this for the next 2 weeks. Like it was going to be like a pain the rest of the job, you know? Yeah. And I was like, but it was just like, oh, you tell everyone that you're gone and then you have to like come back.
Then a week later, you're like, hey, so you guys want to go to the bar?
Well, and I remember coming back and it was like right when me and my now wife were like kind of dating and living together. So like she was excited I was coming back because, you know, obviously for that reason. Yeah. And then like I ended up we ended up buying a Christmas tree like the next day. And then I went to a Christmas party with her like work friends and they were like, wait, I thought you were out of town. And like you have to be like, well, I was there and it didn't work out and I came back. But I mean, it was the best thing that happened. I came back, I took the holiday for myself, wrote a script that did pretty well. But yeah, like I was like one of those things where I was like, oh, let me look at the bright side of like this thing. I got a free trip to Mexico, came back with a suitcase full of booze, free from the hotel. And you know, and I was hanging out in Mexico in like December from New York. So it was like super, super nice weather.
Yeah, but then you had to snap back to reality.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes gravity.
I did not expect the Eminem quote to come out, but yeah. But no,
you probably came back and there was like a blizzard, just fucking miserable.
Yeah, it was. It was just a quick little trip down to Mexico. Got paid.
Yeah.
Got paid a little bit, so it's all good.
Hey, not the worst thing to happen.
Not at all. And I will say this: staying at resorts, it gets boring really quick. Staying at a resort for like 15 days would be tough. Like, because they only have like certain restaurants, you know. Like, it wasn't like we were in Mexico floating around. It was like, okay, I've seen pretty much all of this resort. Like, and it wasn't like we were going anywhere. Yeah.
I hear of people going on cruises that are like 2 weeks. I'm like, how could you possibly do that? It's the same.
You're just eating buffet food, walking around, looking at the ocean.
Looking at the same people.
Yeah.
Just, ugh.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, she's really sad that she's lost her job, and Scott's pretty stoked about it. He's like, hey, we can be together now. So this is awesome. He says to just get the first flight that you find, and it's going to be like ripping a Band-Aid off because goodbyes suck. Just hop on a plane. And she says, okay, I'll do that. But she's crying her eyes out. She does not want to do that.
Can she even do that? Because I was like, don't you need to pack? Don't you need to like get rid of like, she's been there longer than like a few days. So it seems like she has a lot to close out.
Yeah, and plus I feel like she would have had to clear it with Aidy Bryant.
Well, she was saying that they were going to pay for a business flight ticket back.
Yeah.
I guess she could just I guess she could just buy it and get it reimbursed, but I'm not risking that when they fired me.
Yeah, same.
And you still have a hotel. I mean, you still have your apartment. I mean, so I figured she'd be like, "Hey, can I at least hang out for like 5 days and just do nothing in Japan?" Like, right? Like, go on a tour, dude. Like, see something. Like, if you haven't done any of the like, I don't like doing a lot of touristy stuff when I go on trips, but like, if you pack your touristy stuff in the one day, you know, like, travel around while you're there before you fly all the way back to New York.
Yeah, man. Like, why not just take advantage of that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not hopping on a plane the day I got fired.
Yeah, fuck that.
Do what Shoshanna's about to do.
Yeah, so what she's about to do, as soon as she gets off the phone with Scott, she texts Yoshi and she's like, what are you up to? And she goes to this fucking rager concert, and it looks awesome. I loved the band. I didn't know who they were, but they sounded so dope. The lead singer girl has a guitar that's similar to a guitar that I have. A little bit different, but I was like, oh yeah. And then the fucking... Okay, Joe's Fashion Corner really quick. Shoshanna's shirt is horrible. It's like this gray sweater with like all these just like ornament. It's like Christmas tree ornaments hanging off it.
It's those like little circle reflectors, but they're sticking out at a weird angle. Like they're not not like flat on it. Like they're sticking off the shoulder off. Like they look like side view mirror, little mini side view mirrors. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was real bad. That was real stupid. Joe's Fashion Corner, again, at the beginning of the episode, when she's walking through the city, she has these headphones that are like cat ears. Thought those were real cute. Thought those fit her really well.
Those are 100% Japanese style. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's at this concert, and she's there with her coworkers, and they're having a rager. She sees Yoshi, and she's dancing with him. She's dancing with, it seems like, everybody at this place. A DJ comes on at a certain point. She's getting fucking her rage on, dude.
Yeah, isn't it? It got to a point where she was dancing with so many people, and Yoshi seemed to be drifting away. And I thought he was I thought that was gonna be this whole thing where him like, oh, I guess Americans are crazy dumb whores, and like I'm not gonna be with this girl, because it seemed like he's like, wait, who are you dancing with?
See, I noticed that too. I noticed that Yoshi was drifting away.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this? Is he going to leave? Is she not realizing that he left her or something?
Mm-hmm.
But luckily he does not drift away, because they go to looks like a very high class BDSM club.
Yeah. Which I did not expect.
Me neither.
Yep.
If you're in Japan and that's common, email in. I don't know if that's common. I've never been to one. Looked pretty cool. Would go to one if you know where one is in LA. Well, it's definitely not open during coronavirus.
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah, like that's definitely not my scene. But
But would you go to one? Like if I knew of one and was like, Vance, you gotta check this out.
I've known people who've dated dominatrixes and stuff. Like, so I mean, you can find those places. Like, if you wanted to go to one of those.
I know, Vance.
What do you mean?
It was
like, what is the question then? I don't get it.
I'm saying, would you go to one if I knew of one and was like, Vance, you gotta come with me to this place?
After seeing this, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I need to see hot wax poured down Jill Welke's ass crack. So probably no. Like, if I have to weigh like where the night can go, like if that's the end game,
I think I'd rather get some pizza.
Yeah, if that's the end game now.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna watch it. I'll watch the Japanese episode of Family Guy and The Simpsons.
So Yoshi and his two bros from the sauna are with Shoshanna at the high-class BDSM club, and one of his bros is getting whipped by a dominatrix with like a 9 tails, and his other friend is telling Shoshanna that she needs to dress up like a nurse.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And they like keep egging her on, like, you need to dress up like a nurse. Come on, it'd be awesome.
It's getting
she's like
awkward aggressive.
Yeah.
Which is
this whole scene
which is really
weird,
awkward. Which is really weird when you're in a country where you don't speak the language fully, you know? Like it's one of those moments where like if this happens in New York, it's awkward, but at least you're in New York, you know? And this happens in like Japan and you've only been there for a couple months and you don't have a full grasp of everything. It's a tough. And where was her girlfriends?
Yeah.
Were they there too? Or did they? It was just
I didn't see them.
Yeah, it was just I don't know.
Unless they were the dominatrixes that were whipping them.
No,
but I don't think that's true.
No.
I did notice there were other like American looking people in the dominatrix.
Yeah, and
club.
it was definitely a mix of male and female people in there too. And it seemed like a legit place. Like, because I know like Amsterdam has all of like those red light district shops where you can be part of those like weird sex shows and they'll like strap stuff on you and like all the stuff will happen. But yeah, I guess this is kind of that version in Japan. I just don't know. I don't know where the split from like we were clubbing to going to this and my girlfriend's left where all that happened. I feel like there's a little transitional scene that's just, you know.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a hard cut to them now just in the BDSM club.
Like, is this in the back room? Is this part of the sauna still?
That's what I was like. Is this backstage at the concert or something?
Yeah, they just end up at this place, yeah.
So they keep yelling at her to dress up as a nurse. Yoshi's like, she said she didn't want to do it, so shut the fuck up. And then eventually she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then so she puts on the nurse outfit, she comes out, and the two bros are like, yeah, whip us. Go ahead, whip us. And she's like, oh, no, I don't know. And she whips the one guy, and he's like, is that all you got? You got to do it harder. And then she just fucking wails on him. And then he falls off of the thing and she's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Was that too hard? And then he gets up and he's like in her face. Like, does that make your pussy wet whipping me like that? And I was like, oh, Jesus, this is aggressive. I did not enjoy that at all.
Yeah, like he's got some Americanism issues. He's an Americanist or something because like he just went straight into that. And it didn't even make any sense to me. Like, I mean, he just goes from 0 to 100 from like the sauna being like, oh, they're kind of like slutty to being like, I'm just going to like go full in. Like,
well, it's also bad bro code. Like he knows Yoshi's into her.
Yeah. It puts Yoshi in a terrible situation later. Like if you got to hang out with Yoshi and then like that guy's there, you're like, nah, that guy's not cool.
Yeah. And well, Yoshi like pushes the guy or like knocks him over and they take Shoshanna outside. And then they have a little smooch, and then it turns into a big old smooch. And then Shoshanna wakes up.
Well, I have some stuff to say about this scene still. Her nurse's uniform or outfit, costume or whatever, didn't really seem to fit right. Like I think know.
It fit. That's how it's supposed to fit.
It just didn't. It didn't really. I was like, oh, she's gonna try and wear like a hot nurse thing, and it just didn't do it for me. didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I mean,
all.
it didn't do it for me.
And is she allowed to keep that? Because she just walks outside with it.
Yeah, what happened to her regular clothes?
Yeah, she just like is outside of the place in that. I'm like, they would not let you walk out with the costume. And what is this place where you get to be? Like, you just get to dress up too? Like, are they paying? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone write in and explain to us how any of this works.
Yeah, write in BoysWatchingGirlsPodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you know of a place like this, let us know. Maybe we could find out, do some investigative journalism.
You say this like it's not easy to find these places.
Is it easy to find them? But I also want to know where the good ones are.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you were gonna have to go. You can go Yelp. Or
We're looking for
Yelp.
We're looking for recs. We're looking for recommendations from our listeners.
I just want to clarify that Joe Welke is looking for recs.
Vance, we're the number 7 TV review podcast in India. All right. We have a fan base. These people can help us.
So you're saying it's our duty to go to this to review BDSM shots?
Yes, give us recs, recommendations. So anyway, yeah. So that was my first thought when they leave the club. I was like, well, what happened to her regular clothes?
Yeah. I was like,
she's just the pleather latex nurse now.
Yeah, she just ends up stumbling into a new job career.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fucking funny? She just becomes a dominatrix.
Yeah. I do think
that'd be hilarious.
I do think it's interesting that she mentions that she doesn't miss anything about like the U.S. or Americans or friends, like her parents, like Hannah, Marnie, like none of them. Yeah, not even.
She's
like
devastated
Ray.
that she's got to go back.
Yeah. Which is like going back. It wasn't. I mean, not having a job is one thing, but like, it's not that bad. I guess her friends are awful.
Yeah.
She's got nothing to come back to besides this dude. Yeah.
So Scott. Ugh.
That's
her
my
friends?
thought on Scott. Yeah.
She's gonna be a campaign manager for Ray.
He doesn't do anything. He sleeps all day.
Yeah, we haven't seen him doing any politicking since he got elected.
He didn't even make any coffee this episode.
No. Because Helvetica, that fucking piece of shit coffees.
He's going to go out of business.
So anyway, then she wakes up the next day. We don't really see if like she hooked up with Yoshi or anything. He's not there at her place or anything. So we don't know what happened there, aside from the kiss. She gets a text message from Scott, a voice message that's like, hey, I'll be waiting for you at the airport. Just text me the details or whatever. And she's packing up, it looks like, and then she looks longingly out the window. And then it looks like she just decides, I'm done packing. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Fuck him.
What is that
fucking
from?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay. Oh, yeah. His worst decision ever. Leave and take that money.
Yeah,
I guess they wouldn't make the movie about it, though.
Yeah, that's true. So then we see Scott waiting for Shoshanna at the airport. And it looks like he's been waiting for a while. He's got flowers. He's got a sign. And she never shows up. He wraps up the sign, wraps up the flowers, tosses them in the trash, and then walks away. And that is where we leave it.
And it is a wonderful, wonderful callback to the end of last season, I believe, where Colin Quinn tells her, hey, you come back. Your guy will be waiting for you at the airport. Remember? Mm-hmm. And there he is. He's waiting for her at the airport. Super rom-com-y. Very rom-com-y.
Yeah, that was very rom-com-y.
And I gotta say this. The Scott character, the soup mogul, he is so like a weird Charlie-esque type person. Like so like timid and so like he doesn't seem like a real person. He's so like nice. Like Fran has like, he's a nice person, but also like shows range of emotion, gets upset and frustrated with certain things. Like he's not just like, everything you do is great. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Like not a real person. You know what I mean? And I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't see. I mean, I don't see her appeal for Yoshi necessarily, besides like he's a nice guy and like we just seen him bat eyelashes at each other. But other than that, like, because even when the suit mogul, when they first hook up, we're like, why did they go on a date? You just trashed his company and was like the most awful person ever.
Yeah, she just straight insulted him, his intelligence, his company. And he's like, I gotta go out with this chick.
Then they go out and she's super weird on that date. And then he's like, no, they're celebrities at the bar. Let's still stay together. Like, I'm just like, I never really got the connection there that they like.
I still feel bad for him, though.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him for the fact that, one, it's amazing that she was able to book a flight that night before heading to the concert. But I feel bad for him because, yeah, even if it is a couple days later, I still feel bad that she didn't even call or text to be like, hey, I'm not on this flight.
Well, yeah, also, yeah, I mean, I guess she did text him the details, but then she never texted him like, hey, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, flight's delayed indefinitely, like, or something. Like, I don't know. Like, Shoshanna's not one of those people that, like, cares about people's feelings all the time. Like,
yeah, she would ghost somebody.
Yeah, but
but she would ghost somebody, though.
I guess you're right.
I mean, she did
but I feel like ghosting, her ghosting sometimes would be better than, like, sometimes she just says exactly what she thinks. You know what? Like, I feel like she'd be like, sorry, Scott, staying in Tokyo. Bye. Like, that's her ghosting. I don't think she would go straight up no contact, you know? I think she has to say something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel bad for
she did
him a bit.
She did some kind of heinous shit in this episode. Cheating on Scott, leaving Scott hanging. I mean,
is that it?
I don't know what.
You started like you had a big list of heinous activities.
I mean, those are two big ones, man. Those are two big ones. What is she gonna do? Is she staying in Japan? Is she gonna be a dominatrix? Is she the hot nurse now?
I don't know. It'd be amazing if she was packing up, but she still had that nurse outfit on the bed. And she was trying to fold it.
Yeah, she like looks at it and like, this is what I'm leaving behind if I leave Japan.
Yeah. Maybe she just doesn't want to go back to that apartment with Jessa. Because Jessa's living at that apartment, right? Like, who's been paying for that apartment?
Who knows?
I think
is Jessa even in that apartment?
I don't know.
Because I thought that was like her dorm, maybe.
No, it was an apartment. I think her parents were paying for that apartment while she was in school, but now I don't know what's going on.
Look, dude, the living situations of these people. Look, we got an email that tried to help us out with it and still confuses us. Appreciate the email, but wow. Yeah, so that's the end of the episode. Any thoughts on that, Vance? Final thoughts before we get to our sneak preview of the next one?
No, it's a pretty solid episode for, you know, at least we get a chance to see Shoshanna in Japan and see how things are going. And I'm interested to see where things go from here. Yeah.
I was really looking forward to seeing her in Japan, and I thought it was a good episode of like, oh, this is what it would be like if Shoshanna were to stay in Japan, but we don't know if she's going to.
I gotta say, did not expect the amount of nudity in this episode of all episodes. There's barely a sex scene in it. Barely a sex scene in it, but so much nudity.
Yeah, it's like the least passionate sex scene ever.
Yeah.
It's so weird. But yeah, the next episode of this series that we will be talking about is titled Old Loves.
Yeah.
Who you think's coming back? You think Charlie's coming back? You think Ace is coming back? You think Mimi Rose is coming back?
I think
you think Donald Glover's coming back?
I think Laird will have some.
I think
Laird with Hannah, because Adam had that weird thing. Oh, like, because Adam would definitely be like, if he's hooking up with Jessa, be like, well, you hooked up with Laird, and then they'd be like, what? That was just one time. And then what about Elijah? Well, Elijah and I were like, I feel like it's so incestual between the whole group, you know. And like Ray's hooked up with Marnie, so like it's that Ray thing, yeah.
Or is it that one of Hannah's mom's old loves is now in the picture because she's getting divorced from her dad? Maybe that could be something. Maybe she finds like her old high school boyfriend? Oh, no, she met the dad in high school, I thought.
You could be right, but I really, really don't care to see any of that.
Yeah, me neither. I think that could be a little snippet of it, but then the rest of it is girls' old love stuff.
Oh, I do have one trivia fact before we go.
Oh, trivia. I love trivia.
I stumbled upon the fact that Jemima Kirke, I don't know how you pronounce her name, the actress playing Jessa, her sister is actually a doula. In real life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of makes sense that that Jessa would dive her head right in for Caroline's
Yeah, you think that she
birth.
had?
Yeah.
Do you think she had any say in those scenes? Like, no, this is how you do it. Dunk, look at that.
I mean, I would think that you would at least like. Yeah, I mean, every show has like people coming in on experts for advice. So
True.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. This has been our episode on Japan, the not the country, but the episode of Girls. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned next week for Old Loves. See ya.